Okay, so for disclaiming purposes, I like to read that this document is for educational and instructional purposes only. I'm not claiming full rights to all of this material. Most of the questions are modified from previous questions that are either that I find from online resources. Some of the questions are submitted to me from other clients that they want me to go over. So yes, I don't claim to have made up all these questions, but the majority of them are reconstructed by me. At any time you have any questions about any of the questions, please, feel free to let me know. Any errors or whatever, that's on me, human errors. So yeah. So without all that being said, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. I'm gonna start reading and then eventually I'll ask others to chime in. So the question one is a next question. A social worker in a community agency is meeting with a client who is applying for respite care assistance for her paralyzed daughter. After completing the assessment, the social worker explains the available services that the agency provides. The client expresses that she needs more intensive assistance with her daughter and is upset that the agency cannot assist her with her needs. What should the social worker do next? Okay, so just out the gate, looking at this question, anybody want to take a stab and just tell me what is a priority issue here that they see in this scenario?
So you're saying the presenting problem, is that what you're asking about?
Yeah, the priority
Okay.
issue.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The client expresses that she needs more intensive assistance with her daughter and is upset that the agency cannot assist her with her needs.
Okay, so I asked that question first, especially for the people who are new attending group, because I want to kind of take them through how we do things. So in this question, out the gate, we notice that this is a next question. So that tells me that they are asked, the ASWB exam is asking me, the social worker, to clinically intervene. So they're asking me, what should I do next? Next means it comes after something. So in this situation, we got a social worker that's in a community agency, and she is meeting with the client who is applying for respite assistance for her paralyzed daughter. Okay, so that's the scenario. It tells us that after completing the assessment, the social worker explains available services that the agency provides. So I'm gonna take you up here to my little, I don't know, cheat sheet or whatever we want to call it. But what I've done was I have taken the helping process and broken it down into phases to help us, I guess help to get to the answer a lot quicker and easier. So in the beginning phase, we know that we're engaging and are assessing. The middle phase, planning, intervention, and so forth. So in this question, it tells us that we are meeting with a client who is applying for respite care services. So normally on the ASWB exam, if it says that the social worker is meeting a client or whatever, that normally means that we are in the beginning phase of the helping process. So in the beginning phase, we know that we are engaging and are assessing the client. So that also means that if that's the phase that you're in, and the question is asking you to stay in that phase, then the answer you pick has to be something that you're going to do in the beginning phase, which means your answer has to deal with engaging and or assessing the client, right? So that's the phase you're in. So I asked for someone to point out what the priority issue is, and I did that first. We normally don't do that first, but for my newbies, I just want to distinguish with you guys before we go on to any of the other questions, the difference that I have found between the presenting problem and the priority issue. So a lot of us are used to dealing with the presenting problem. And so I noticed that the more and more I teach clients, it's like, okay, I'm saying the presenting problem, and our minds automatically go to, okay, what is the problem? What is the reason why the client is here? Which is correct. That is what the presenting problem is. But for the ASWB exam, they are really wanting us to know what is the priority issue that's going on with the client right now. So instead of just thinking about it as a presenting problem, because a presenting problem again can just could be the reason why they're there, but that they could have 3-4 other issues. The ASWB exam wants you to prioritize their issue. So don't forget that. So in this situation, it tells you that she's applying for respite care assistance for her paralyzed daughter. That is the reason why she's there. So that in a sense would definitely be considered the presenting problem. But it tells you like what's happening in the here and now. What makes this a real issue is that after the social worker completes the assessment and she starts explaining the services that they can provide, the client, she gets upset because she's like, nah, this ain't gonna work for me. This is not what I need. So now here, this is where we have a priority issue. So understand that she came in here applying for respite care assistance for her daughter. That is her presenting issue. That's why she's here. But the priority issue in this situation, we want to focus on what is the priority problem that's happening right here, right now. And that is the fact that the client expresses that she needs more intensive assistance with her daughter and is upset that the agency can assist her with those needs, right? So now we're going to go focus on what is the question asking of the social worker. Y'all got to ask yourself this with every single question, right? So most people say, oh, they just asking what should the social worker do next? Well, I don't want you to think of it that, that plainly. I want you to say, okay, they're asking me, what should I do next after what? And so up here on this little sheet that you're going to get, you see that whenever you have a next question, you want to focus on the last thing that's been done by the social worker, if anything, okay? So I know that some people come in and say, oh, you just got to focus on the last sentence, that's in a scenario. That is not always the case, and that will get you caught up and wrong a lot of the times. A lot of times it is the case, but not always. So just remember that your focus should be on the last thing that the social worker did and kind of follow behind that. If the social worker didn't do anything, if it doesn't say the social worker did anything, then of course you want to do what comes after the last thing in the scenario that's in regards to the presenting problem. So in this case, the last thing that the social worker did is she explained the services that they can provide. And then the client comes and she's like, nah, that's not gonna work, right? So what would be the next thing that you do? Now, I set that up the long way because I want y'all to understand the gist of what we're gonna be doing throughout the rest of the session. So would A be the next thing we do? Explain to the client how the services can be helpful to her. After we already explained the services that the agency provides and she's not with it, is the next thing we're gonna do is A. Let me know if y'all wanna pause or scratch it.
No, scratch it.
Scratch.
Okay, so tell me why we scratching it.
Because she's already explained.
She's already explained what?
That she's not happy with the services that are being provided already.
I like that rationale. I like that. Okay. So what about B? After we then already explained our services to her and she's upset about it, she's not feeling it, are we going to provide the client with additional referrals to other resources? Is that something that we would do next? Pause or scratch?
Scratch.
And for my newbies, when we do pause or scratch, pause means that might can be the answer. We're going to come back to it. So we pause it. Scratch means nope, that's absolutely not the answer. So we're going to scratch it. If at any time someone feels the need to pause, we pause it. I don't care if 10 people say scratch and one person say pause, we're going to pause. So does anybody want to pause this?
No, I say scratch.
Why are we scratching it?
Because we haven't checked with the client on what needs she feels haven't been met.
Okay. All right. So then that leads us to C, explore the client's feelings about the available services offered. Would that be the next thing after we tell her what we can provide and she's not cool with it?
Yes,
Pause.
Pause that. Okay. What about just refer her to another agent?
Doesn't solve the problem.
no.
Doesn't
That
solve the
doesn't-
problem. So what we have done is we have just used this priority issue to eliminate the answers that does not address it. So that leaves us with one answer that we can feel confident in choosing versus, you know, trying to just look at all of this and try to just pick an answer like we normally do. So the reason why I asked why are we scratching? Because I want you guys to know the reason why you don't have why this is not the answer. Because if you're sure in your, you know, answer of why this is not the answer, then I can tell you 9.5 times out of 10, you don't have to worry about going back and changing your answers like a lot of people do on the exam. So this is why I kind of get you in the habit of telling me why is it not the answer or why it is the answer. So that's kind of why I do that. Anybody have any questions about this one so far? I know I kind of went a lot in depth, but we got a few new people, so I want them to understand how we do things. Any of the new people that have not attended group have any questions about what we did or how we did it, or, you know, you need us to make it make sense?
No.
Good. Okay, it was something else I wanted to point out about this. Oh, I know what it was. So we said, I wanted to point out that we said that we were in the beginning phase of the process. So we're engaging and or assessing. So when we pick an answer, it has to be in that phase. And so we're exploring the client's feelings about the services offered since her problem is the services. So I just want to point that out to make sure that you're understanding the correlation with the phase of the process that we're in, okay? All right, so we're gonna go on to the next one, which is the first question. I'll do this one too, since we're just getting started. A social worker is conducting an initial interview with a client who reports feeling like a failure after losing his job a few months ago and his family now being at risk for losing their home. Despite his efforts to find another job, the man's attempts have been unsuccessful. He states that he feels like an embarrassment to his family and does not want his children to continue to bear the consequences of his mishaps. What should the social worker do first? So now this is not a next question. This is the first question. So what phase of the process are we in? Will we be in the beginning, the middle, or the end?
Beginning.
Beginning.
And tell us why.
A social worker conducting an initial interview.
Yes. So again, when we are in an initial interview, that tells us that we are in the beginning phase of the helping process. Our answer has to have to line up with something we do in an initial interview. So let's just talk about what's going on. We got the client who is telling you that he feels like a failure. He lost his job a few months ago and his family is at risk of losing their home. He's been trying to find another job, but his attempts have been unsuccessful. He feels like an embarrassment and all it is. So y'all see how this man got all this going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pointing this out because the ASWB exam wants you to know how to prioritize your client's issues. So out of everything that's going on right now, what is the priority issue, the most critical thing that's happening right here, right now, that needs to be addressed?
Would it be he reports he feels like a failure?
What do y'all say? Do y'all feel like that's what it is? Oh, y'all know. Okay, so y'all don't know. So let's see. This man reports he's feeling like a failure. I do tell people all the time, when you see quotation marks, pay attention to them, because they are they're usually directly related to, if not being the presenting issue, the priority issue. Okay, so it's not always going to mean that if it's in quotes, it's the priority issue, but it means that it's going to be related to it. So pay attention. So he reports that he's feeling like a failure. Okay. Anything else in here that anybody would deem that is more critical than that? If not, we're gonna go head on.
He states that he feels like an embarrassment to his family and does not want his children to continue to bear the consequences of his mishap.
Okay. All right. So we'll just go ahead and leave both of them up there for now. Okay. So we're in the beginning phase, which means we are engaging and are assessing the client. That's where our answer is going to be. We got a client who's feeling like a failure, and he's embarrassed and doesn't want his children to continue bearing the consequences. Okay. So now this is the first question. What should the social worker do first? So according to my little sheet up here, whenever you have first questions, you need to focus on what is the most important thing to do according to what the question is asking of you. So that simply means, you're focusing on what is the most important thing you need to do about the client's presenting issue. So the most important thing you're going to do about the client saying that he feels like a failure, or the client saying that he feels like an embarrassment to his family and doesn't want his children to bear the consequences of his mishap. All right. So would the most important thing in an initial interview be to provide the client with employment resources? Is that going to address either one of these priority issues that y'all pick?
Scratch.
Okay. Tell me why we scratching.
I don't think that would be the first thing we would do. That would be maybe more of an something that's done in the middle phase.
Okay. What about B? Perform a suicide risk assessment.
Pause.
Okay. What about C? Help the client see a situation in a different perspective. And this should be is that going to be the most important thing right now? To the client tells you he reports feeling like a failure. Are we going to help the client see the situation in a different perspective? Tells you he feels like an embarrassment. Is the most important thing to help the client see the situation in a different perspective? I don't like that word.
Scratch.
Anybody want to pause this one? Scratching. Whoever said scratch, why you want to scratch it?
It does not match our presenting problem or our priority issue.
Okay. Okay, what about?
Okay.
Go ahead, I didn't hear.
I was just gonna say there are other red flags that just lead to performing a suicide risk assessment.
Okay, so what about D? Do we want to encourage the client to understand that his situation is only temporary? Is that going to be the most important thing we want to do about this client feeling like a failure and an embarrassment to his family? I didn't hear somebody say something?
Yes, ma'am. I said scratch.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna scratch it since I don't hear any other replies. So is everybody okay with this being the answer? Everybody feels like the most important thing to do in this situation is to perform a suicide risk assessment?
I do.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna go with that. So we have a client that's, we're engaging and or assessing. So we're in the beginning. And so, like I said, our answer has to be dealing with these two things. So performing a suicide risk assessment is going to be the most important thing that we want to do in this situation. And primarily because this right here is the real priority issue. But however, in here, this this pretty much is kind of saying the same thing that this is saying. So that's why I kind of let that go. And being that it is in quotations, I wanted to show you how it normally directly relates to the presenting problem. However, this is, I mean, the priority issue. This is the priority issue because the fact that he says that, look, he don't want to continue to bear he doesn't want his children to continue to bear the consequences of his mishaps. So that just kind of sounds like, you know, he's hopeless. Right here, he's verbalizing signs of hopelessness, despair, and shame, which are all signs of, you know, possible suicide. So we're in the beginning phase. We want to prioritize his safety and CYA for us and conduct a suicide risk assessment, okay? Any questions about that one?
No, ma'am.
All right, moving on. Anybody want to take this good old should question?
A social worker in a private practice received a visit from a detective requesting records from a client who was recently arrested for assault. What should the social worker do?
So just right out the gate, when you see a should question, what are you thinking about? What type of question is this?
Ethical?
Yes, this is ethics. So everybody put your ethics cap on, and that means you are going to do something that usually the code of ethics say this is how we operate. All right, so you in a private practice, and then this detective come walking up in your office requesting some records of a client who was recently arrested for assaulting somebody. What is the most ethical thing you're gonna do? So when you ask yourself the question, what is the question asking of me? That means you're just saying, since this is a should question, what is the most ethical thing I need to do in this situation? Take us through the answer choices.
A, decline to release the records to the detective without a court record.
Pause or scratch.
I'm going to scratch that one.
Okay, anybody want to pause? Everybody agree with the scratch?
Yes, I said scratch.
All right, what about, go ahead, continue with the answer
B,
choices.
release the client's records to the detective. I'm going to say scratch.
Don't forget, if anybody disagree, y'all let me know y'all want to pause it. We can keep going.
C, seek legal consultation. I'm going to say pause.
Okay.
And D, contact the client about the situation. I'm going to say pause.
All right, so I want to know, why did you scratch B? Because you told me, wait, I don't think you told me. Yeah, you didn't tell me why you scratched A either. So why are we scratching A?
Because we hadn't got the consent from the client.
Okay. What about, why did we scratch B?
Because without, I mean, we just can't give a client's records to anyone without having a release of information or consent from the client.
Okay. All right, so we're between C and D. What are y'all thinking? Talk to me.
I'm gonna go with C.
I'm leaning more towards D.
All right, so my person that's picking C, tell me why you're going with C.
Seek legal consultation. When I'm looking at consultation, I'm looking at consult with the supervisor to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, but I know I'm supposed to have consent from the client also.
Okay.
So I'm kind of confused as to which one comes first per se.
Okay, and who is that talking?
I'm Eva.
Miss Eva. Okay. All right. Now, who said D?
I did. This is Bridget.
Okay, Miss Bridget, tell us why you're thinking D is the answer.
Well, I may be overthinking it, but because the question didn't mention anything about seeking legal consultation, and what if the supervisor or the legal consultation is not there? I'm thinking the first thing I would do is contact the client first.
Okay. All right. Anybody else got any way? Because we got to see, we got, we kind of got a little battle right here. Anybody else got any say on this question? Any opinion that they want to share? All right, no. Okay, I like to ask because again, I feel like, interactive, y'all learn better. So this is an ethical question. This is not a first question. Let me point that out. So ethics, that's why I say put your ethics hat on and just go straight to ethics. It didn't say what should you do first, so that means it didn't ask you to prioritize anything. It just asks you what is the most ethical thing you can do. That's what should is. So in this case, you're in a private practice and this detective comes in and is like, hey, yo, got a client over here, he assaulted somebody, I need his mental health records or whatever, I need his records. The most ethical thing that you have to do in this moment is decline to release those records to the detective without a court order. And no detective can't just come walk in your office and say, oh, yo, hand over those records. That is unethical, and that says that verbatim in the code of ethics. You do not release records unless it is by court order with the judge's signature. Yes, Ms. Bridget, you want to contact the client about the situation, but in this case, right out the gate, the most ethical thing you need to do out the gate is just tell them, no, I can't do that. And then you can contact the client or whatever the case. But again, that just means the most ethical thing you need to do. And in this case, declining out the gate is what we need to do. Any questions about that? This is literally something that is almost verbatim from the code of ethics. So that's why y'all know I stress all the time. Please go watch my video on the code of ethics, because it will make these questions make a whole lot more sense and much easier to answer. Okay. Any questions about that? Remember, y'all, when it's subpoenas and records and all of that, unless it is signed by a judge, y'all are not obligated to release those records. So even if a lawyer comes and say, hey, I need such and such record, nope, give me a signed court order from a judge, so just be clear on that.
So even if it had said first, we would still decline to release the records?
Yep, because you got to decline and then contact the client, because you can't just be like, you wouldn't be like, oh, let me contact the client and then decline, and then see what the client say and decline, see what the client say and then decline, because number one, you got to have you have to have this in writing by the client if you're going to release it anyway. So the client ain't there to give his written consent. So the first thing you're going to do is decline it anyway. That's why it's the most ethical thing to do.
Okay.
That's a good question. Good question. So I think we got a little recall here. A mother is adamant about cleaning up as she goes to avoid having to do major house cleaning on the weekends. This is an example of, and y'all see them choices. We don't have to pause or scratch on these because this is a recall question. So y'all just let me know what y'all think it is. Because I'm gonna tell y'all this, I'm gonna be honest, y'all. I can't really teach these to y'all because this was like one of the things that always tripped me up, these here. So y'all tell me what
I can't hear you.
Okay. Gotta process this. I hate these.
Me too. They are the worst, y'all. So, and if anybody in the group, which is why I like group, have figured out an easy way for everybody else to remember this, by all means, please share. Please share, because y'all, my brain can't process for some reason.
Okay, so I'm only cleaning up to avoid having to do.
So basically,
I'm with you guys. I always get mixed up on these. Always.
We gotta find a way. We gotta put our heads together and find a way, because they ask these questions on this exam and we be getting tripped up. So listen, go ahead.
I was just gonna take a stab at it. Okay, so she's cleaning up as she goes. So that means she is doing something that is positive.
Let me go ahead on and I'm gonna just write some notes while you're talking, because we gotta figure this out. So we got, I'm gonna go ahead and put it like this. So this is something, is this positive? I guess, yeah. Well, we can delete if, we're just trying to find an easy way to remember this. So she's cleaning up as she goes to avoid something. So she's doing something to avoid something. Is that going to be, first of all, is that going to be reinforcement or punishment?
I would say reinforcement.
Reinforcement.
Yeah, I'm
would
gonna
think
agree.
so too.
Reinforce.
Yes, okay, so I'll go ahead and create another one that say reinforcement. So yeah, this could be, right. Okay, so we know that this is reinforcement. We haven't established whether it's positive or negative yet. So you clean it up as you go to avoid having to do a major house clean on the weekend. That's you're reinforcing something. So now how do we get to the positive or negative part? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna eliminate these, the ones that say punishment, because it doesn't sound like anything being punished here. So now we need to figure out positive or negative. And I want y'all to talk about this because like I said, I really, this is something I feel like trip a lot of people up on the exam. So we can get it figured out here in group. That'll be great. Cleaning up as she goes to avoid something. So is the cleaning up as she goes seen as something negative or something positive?
I'm gonna say positive.
Say positive. I say positive too, because she's adding, cleaning up, and then the reinforcement would be, yeah.
Okay,
So
so
she
that
won't
means,
have to do it on the weekend.
Right.
okay. So now I already, of course, I know what the answer is, but I want it to make sense to everybody. You know, I'm being real because I told you I can't really teach this. You know, I'm gonna keep it real. So we going with positive reinforcement. So I'm gonna go ahead and post the answer. That ain't it. Let me go back and copy it. And here's the rationale. The answer is actually negative reinforcement. So behavior of cleanup as she goes is reinforced. So we got that right by removing having to do major housekeeping on the week. Okay. With negative reinforcement, something uncomfortable is taken away. So that means you're taking, so actually instead of adding, she's taking something away. So she's taking the fact, removing her having to clean up on the weekends.
Well, in real life, that would be positive to me.
In my mind too. That's why I can't understand this for the life of me. I'm just being honest.
Because if I clean up on the weekend, like clean up now, I won't have to worry about this the weekend. I can have my weekend to myself.
That's right. And that's why this is so confusing to me. But yeah, y'all just go back and like pull up some examples because this is, I still don't get it, Lord. But anyway, I want to give y'all that just to put it on your mind because y'all probably are gonna see at least one of these. Gonna ask you a question about one of these types on whether it's the LM or the LC. So y'all just have it on y'all mind. Go look up some examples. And if anybody find like a real simple way, y'all go ahead and send it to me so I can share it with everybody. Let's get on. All right, let's go on to the should. Another should question. Anybody else? Anybody want to go ahead and try this should question?
A social worker is working with a 16-year-old who recently became confused about his sexuality and wants to better understand his feelings. How should the social worker respond? Okay, so we know that it is an ethical, it's going to be an ethical answer. And so we're in the beginning because is working with, okay, yes.
No, it's not, it's meeting, it's working with me. You've already started working with the client. So that's
okay.
Difference in between is meeting and is working. You already started working. That means you're in the active, you're in the middle.
All right. So how should the social worker respond?
So my new people, remember, we're focusing on this red sentence. So what's the most ethical thing that we want to do about this client who recently became confused by his sexuality and wants to better understand this?
Okay. A, refer the client to a therapist who has experience working with adolescent sexuality.
Pause and scratch.
I would say scratch.
Okay. Anybody disagree? Tell me why. Why are we scratching it? We looking for the most ethical thing to do.
It didn't say that the social worker couldn't provide services to the
It
client.
didn't say she could either.
Okay.
I'm not saying that's the answer, but I don't want you to have these faulty assumptions either way.
Okay.
I want to
Okay.
deal with what's right there. But keep going. Keep going.
Okay. B, provide psychotherapy to address the client's confusion about his sexuality. I would say pause.
Okay.
C, involve the client's parents to discuss the client's concerns. I would say scratch,
Why are we scratching?
because we're working with the 16-year-old and not his parents.
Mm-hmm.
Privacy, confidentiality.
Right.
Yes.
D,
Especially on an ethical question. You
D,
said D what?
D, provide the client with psychoeducation concerning sexual identity and homosexuality. I would say scratch.
Why are we scratching?
We're just addressing became confused about his sexuality and wants to better understand his feelings. He didn't mention anything about homosexuality.
Anybody else got anything? Anybody want to add to this? I want to hear anybody else's opinion on this one.
Well, I was thinking that we would do some psychoeducation first to educate him more about his sexuality, being that he was confused.
Okay, so that's good. That's good. That we have B and D. So the difference in between with B and D, one is asking you to provide psychotherapy to address his confusion about his sexuality, and the other one is asking you to provide psychoeducation, right, concerning sexual identity and homosexuality in general. So I can kind of understand both answers, but when we're looking from an ethics perspective, not a first, next, whatever, which one of these do y'all feel like is the most ethical thing to do? You have a client that comes in confused about their sexuality and wants to better understand their feelings. They want to understand these feelings. Which one y'all think is the most ethical?
I don't know, maybe D.
Okay. So I kind of, I really went slow on this one because I wanted y'all to really think, because this one made me really think. And so the ones that challenged me, I definitely want them to challenge y'all. Because B and D are the best two answers. We are working with a 16-year-old, so age matters. And so I always tell people, whenever there's an age involved, or phase or stage or whatever, pay attention to the age, because the intervention can be different depending on the age. You work with a 16-year-old different than you work with a 60-year-old. So that's important. So you have a 16-year-old that's confused about his sexuality and wants to better understand his feelings. Okay. So according to the rationale, D is the answer for the two people that said D, because they just often experience role confusion and anxiety about their sexual identity as they try to figure out who they are. So it's very important for social workers who have a solid foundation of normal conflicts in each developmental stage to be able to educate the clients. This way, social workers can normalize confusion and anxiety the clients may be experiencing. So this one was a deep think, y'all. For me, this one was a really deep think. Because I'm not gonna lie, I was like, yeah, we're gonna do the psychotherapy. He's confused, so we want to address that confusion about his sexuality. But we want to, at 16 years old, the most ethical thing we want to do for our clients, which remember, we want to do something that actually helps the client. We are, we serve in a helping role. So the most ethical thing that will help the client is to educate him about sexual identity, homosexuality. Just give him that, and that may sort out some of his confusion. After which I know this isn't a first and next question, but after which is when you would probably want to provide the psychotherapy.
Okay.
This one was tricky. That's all I can say. That's why I put it on here, because I like to give y'all the ones that make you think. But yeah, this one was tricky. All right, 6. Anybody want to take this one before I go? Okay. Oh, go ahead. Somebody was about to go.
A social worker is asked to evaluate a research article about how early psychoeducation intervention might benefit clinical outcomes of patients with major depressive disorder. In reading the research article, the social worker should first.
All right, what phase are we in? This tells me this is has something to do with they want me to intervene a little bit. So where are we in this process?
Middle, maybe? Middle?
Okay. It's asking you to just evaluate a research article, basically.
Okay.
All right, so what is the focus?
Patients with major depressive disorder.
Only that?
No, the clinical outcomes of patients with major depressive disorder.
Okay, so it's actually all of this
Oh, okay.
to focus
How,
on. Yes.
how early?
Yes, the fact that, a social worker, they asking you to research
Mhm.
a research article about how early psychotherapy intervention might benefit clinical outcomes. So what is the most important thing they're asking you in reading the research article? What would be the most important thing that you need to do first? What's the most important thing when you're reading this article? They ask you to evaluate this article. So in reading this research article, what is the most important thing that you need to do or consider or whatever? Would it be A, determine the benefits of psychotherapy for major depressive disorder?
Pause.
I'm gonna say scratch.
Okay, so we got to pause and we got to scratch. Tell me, the person who wants to scratch it, tell me why.
This is Eva. Because before we can determine the benefits, we have to do something else before that.
Okay, all right. So now we're gonna go ahead to B. We're gonna still leave it on pause and somebody wants to pause it. Would the first and most important thing when we're asked to evaluate a research article be to evaluate the research design within the study?
Scratch.
Why are we scratching?
That's done in the end phase.
The end phase of
The helping process.
Okay, we not in a helping role. That's what I wanted y'all to pick up on earlier when I asked y'all that. This is not a helping role question.
Yeah.
This is not a helping process question. They only to evaluate a research article.
Okay.
So now I'm pointing this out because I want you got to distinguish that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not asking you
Yeah, I would pause that one.
to intervene with the client or anything like that. They asking you to evaluate a research article. Boom.
Okay.
So we got somebody that want to pause and somebody you still want to scratch that one?
I think we need to pause it.
Okay, so we got some pauses. What about C? Is the most important thing when we're evaluating a research article be to clarify the significance of the research study?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So we got to pause.
Mm.
Anybody want to scratch before we keep going? Oh, this is good. This is good. Golly, we didn't got that's still out there. What about D? The most important thing we want to do is determine whether the study can be applied in various settings.
I don't think that's first.
Determine
Anybody
whether
want-
it can be applied in various settings. I would pause it.
Oh, okay. Well, we got them all up there. So then y'all gotta talk to me because I don't like y'all know I don't give the answers. Y'all gotta work. Y'all gotta work for the answers up in here. So
You
what's
can scratch
going
A.
on? We gotta find
You
something
can
to scratch.
A.
So why are we scratching A?
Because there's better options.
That's a good answer.
Look, I was just about to say it's up there. You know how they be on Family Feud? It's up there. It's up there. Yeah, we're gonna scratch it. Good answer. So let me tell you about A. So A says determine the benefits of psychotherapy for major depressive disorder. You are evaluating a research article about psychotherapy intervention, how it might benefit the clinical outcomes. You just evaluating the article. So
Yeah.
determining the benefits of psychotherapy is I mean, you know, it really don't have any, you know, you just evaluating the research article. That's so A would be doing a little too much.
Okay, yeah, we can scratch A.
All right, so let's go back to B. This is a research question, y'all. So y'all better know y'all research, even though y'all gonna only have one of them on the exam. So evaluate the research design within the study. So when you're asked to evaluate, just think about it. Let me see. Y'all know I like to simplify stuff. So we're evaluating this research article, okay, about how this intervention is beneficial to patients with major depressive disorder. We just evaluating. So one of the most important things I want to know when I'm reading this article is what? You know, do I want to know, is the research design important? Is the significance of even doing this study important? Like, what is the significance of this study?
Yes.
He's saying yes again. Tell me why.
You have to, if you are asked to evaluate a research article, you have to find out if the research article is actually significant to what you're evaluating. Like
Okay.
if you're evaluating a research article, you have to, don't you have to clarify the significance of it?
I think you would
The
do that
reason
first.
why you're evaluating?
Mhm.
So you're saying you want to clarify the significance or the importance of the research study first when they ask you to evaluate the article.
Oh, I see. Okay, now that you've put it that way, no, that's not, no, that's not a good one.
Yeah,
That wouldn't be an option.
right.
Because
Right,
yeah, that it's evaluating the study itself, not the article. So
There you go. There you go.
okay. Yeah, I'd scratch that one.
This one is a good tricky one too. So now we down.
Mhm.
Oh. So again, I just want y'all to figure out a way to, when y'all get stumped on these hard ones, that you can kind of just, you know, common sense guess it or try to figure it out. So simplify it however you got to do it. I'm reading this. They asking me to evaluate this research article. So basically, y'all want me to tell y'all what I think about this research article about, you know, what they saying. So is evaluating the research design within that study, is that going to be the first thing that I do? Because I'm trying to evaluate and basically give somebody my opinion on this research article. Like y'all done did a study and y'all done did the article, and now y'all want me to evaluate the article and give you my analysis on it or my opinion. So is the most important thing I need to do is determine whether this can be applied in various settings. so that I can give you my opinion, or evaluate the research design
B.
in the study?
B.
I'm not gonna hold y'all for time purposes. I'm gonna give it to y'all. Hold on, let me go get the. I think I
I'll
copied
say
it.
B.
Why are we saying B?
You have to research, you have to evaluate the credibility of the design of the
That's
study.
a good answer. You must first look at the research design to ensure the study accurately assesses the cause and effect relationships between the variables or whatever. So basically, y'all, all that means is that when you're evaluating a research article, you gotta first make sure that the design was on point, because you can't really evaluate anything that was researched if the right design wasn't used. So let's kind of evaluate the research design first, and then you can do some of this other stuff. But out the gate, the research design is what is paramount in pretty much all questions. Now, this is a question that somebody submitted to me. It's a really good question. Somebody submitted this question to me because they had something similar to it on their recent exam. So y'all know when people tell me that, I kind of try to make it so that y'all can be aware. Something like this on a recent exam. It was the LC exam. I will tell you that it wasn't this question specifically, but it was very close. And so just knowing about research design and what else was it? Yeah, just basically knowing about the different types of research designs, when to use what type of design, the importance of the designs. That's what that question was centered around. So I want to put it out there because I don't want y'all to get caught slipping. So if y'all need to go back and kind of brush up on research design, go ahead and do that, because the question that was on the one that she had was in regards to research design. All right, we're gonna keep it moving. Okay, let me go. All right, number 7, we got a good old next question again. Anybody before I go? Doesn't matter who.
A social worker in a mental health clinic is meeting with a client who was referred by her psychiatrist after being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. The client states that she wants to further understand her mental health symptoms. After validating the client's concerns, what should the social worker do next?
All right, what phase of the process are we in? Beginning, middle, or end?
Middle.
Okay, tell me why we're in the middle.
You already understand what she's being referred to and what her diagnosis is. She states she wants to further understand her mental health symptoms.
Okay. So when you are looking for the phase of the process, you're looking for what's happening right here and now. And what's happening right here and now is that the social worker, is meeting with a client who was referred. So this tells me this is some beginning type stuff.
Okay.
You're meeting with a client who was referred. So whenever it says is meeting, y'all, again, that normally means
is. Okay.
So that means you are engaging and or assessing the client at this time. So this client
at the very first.
This client was referred to you by her psychiatrist after being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. All right, so now what would be our priority issue here?
Wouldn't it be psychoeducation? Wouldn't it be assessment?
No, what would be the priority issue as far as in this situation? What are we picking out as our red sentence? What is the most important thing that we need to be addressing with the client that's going on right now?
Oh, that she wants further information. She wants to further understand her mental health symptoms.
That's exactly right. So let me point out again, y'all, the presenting problem is why she was there, because she came and she was referred by her psychiatrist after being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. But her priority issue is she want to understand her mental health symptoms. So the question is asking you, what should you do next? So next after what?
Next after what she stated, that she wants to further understand her mental health symptoms.
Yes.
And, oh, after
No,
you
I'm
validated-
sorry. Yes.
Oh, okay.
To do what you want to do, what comes next after the last thing the social worker did. Because remember, it's saying what should the social worker do next? So let's first see if the social worker did anything. And
Yeah.
she validated her.
Validated the client.
That was the last thing. So we're in this beginning part, and we know that we are engaging and are assessing this client. So now she done told us what she wants, and we validated her concerns. What do we do next according to this presenting problem? Will it be A? Take us through the answer choice.
A, provide the client with a treatment record detailing the diagnosis. B,
Wait,
provide
pause and scratch.
Oh,
Are we pausing or scratching?
scratch,
Why are we scratching that?
because it's a treatment record. She doesn't need to know how to treat herself. She needs to know what her health symptoms are.
Okay.
She needs better understanding of what her mental health symptoms are after being diagnosed with bipolar, not a treatment record detailing the diagnosis. She knows what the diagnosis is. She wants more information about the actual disorder.
Okay. Keep going. Sounds good to me. Keep going.
Provide psychoeducation to the client about her diagnosis. I'd pause that one.
Anybody, if y'all disagree, make sure y'all speak up. Okay, so she's pausing that one. Let's go with C.
Refuse to provide information about the diagnosis as it might affect treatment. No, scratch that.
Anybody want to keep this one? All right, keep going.
D, refer the client back to the psychiatrist to help her better understand her diagnosis. No, I'd scratch that one too.
Okay.
I think our best option is B.
Anybody disagree?
No, I agree.
I agree.
Tell me why. Tell me why you chose B.
I chose B because she needed to understand her mental health symptoms, and you validated the client's concerns already with what she further wants to understand. So your next step would be to provide her that service, to provide her more information about her diagnosis.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I like the way you rationalize it. You went back and you compared the answer to the presenting problem. So to the priority issue, the fact that she wants to further understand her mental health symptoms, this is the answer that does that. Okay, she didn't ask about trying to, understand her diagnosis or whatever. She wants to know what of her, I want to know more about my symptoms. So providing psychoeducation into that diagnosis will go into all of that, telling all the signs and symptoms and all of that. So good job with that. All right, a 3-year-old enthusiastically explores the playground while keeping frequent eye contact with his mother. According to the separation individuation theory, which stage does this represent? And y'all can just let me know which one of y'all think, if y'all are familiar with the separation individuation theory. This is a recall question. As somebody told me it was on the exam. They had no idea what it was. So I'm throwing it on here for y'all. So in case y'all get it. Separation individual.
Nope.
I'm gonna be honest, I heard of it, y'all, but I ain't never had to know it. So that's why I was like, yeah, let me put that on there since they putting that on this exam now. They tripping.
Yeah.
And it's definitely in that Don Algar book.
Yup. And I guess that's why I said I never Never really needed to know it, but okay. So this is a 3-year-old. Let's see if we can dumb it down. Like, that's how I have to do 3-year-old. So we have, this is human behavior. So we want to pay attention to this age and in regards to this behavior. So a 3-year-old enthusiastically explores the playground while keeping frequent eye contact with his mother. So, 3-year-old, imagine a 3-year-old goes to whatever 3-year-old, and they on the playground and they playing and stuff, but at the same time, they making sure mama ain't going nowhere. All right. So according to the separation individuation theory, what stages this represent? And y'all, yeah, this is very tricky because I didn't even know this. So just give me y'all best guess at this point.
D.
Y'all after this, so I got a D.
I'm gonna say B.
Okay, what is B? I know what D is, so I'm asking you what is D?
Well, when I think of hatching, I think of, coming out and kind of want to explore things on your own, but still staying close by. Now that's the way I see it, but I don't know. Not.
Now, you know what? That actually makes sense. though. I mean, the way you explain it,
it does.
It does.
But object concepts makes sense too, y'all.
Yeah, I say that one because I'm keeping my eye on mommy, and I'm using her as an object.
Go ahead and just I'm not gonna even prolong this one. I'm gonna get y'all. It's actually A. Crazy. But what I did, because I know this was gonna be crazy, I went and I put all of them here. So when I send it to y'all don't have to even go look for it. It's gonna what they all mean. It's gonna be right here. So this is Myers' theory of separation individuation. So practicing phase is from 6 to 10 months up to 18 years of age, which is what really confused me because they said this person is 3. Y'all, I'm totally confused because I really thought it was hatching as well. But none of the ages in this makes sense. So that's why I put this here. Y'all go ahead and y'all can research this if y'all want. But this consists of visual and tactile exploration of the caregiver's space and body. So basically, hatching is when they they just coming out and they just trying to figure you out. That's what made it make sense to me, not the ages. Again, I put this on here because I don't want y'all to get caught up on the exam. Somebody told me they saw this. So rapprochement, nobody picked this one, which I've heard of rapprochement before. The children begin to realize limits of their omnipotence and have a new awareness of their separateness. So that it's not rapprochement because rapprochement is kind of like, oh yeah, they know that they're separated and that's that. So practicing, y'all, is the answer. But practicing means the infant is able to move away from the caregiver. And I went and looked this up myself by crawling, climbing, and pulling itself up and holding on to supporting object. During its explorations, the infant checks back to the caregiver to emotionally refuel, using the caretaker as a secure base. That's the only thing that made this make sense to me. Because I don't know. I think the age is what threw me off, but this makes sense. So again, this is something I put on here that y'all might want to go and just look at. And this was actually on the LMSW exam. So just anybody taking it, just kind of make a note of this because again, I don't want y'all to get caught sleeping. That's why I threw that on here. So we're gonna keep it moving. Just wanted to throw that up there. But y'all go look that up. That's another confusing. All right, so we're gonna go back to, okay, this is something easy. Which of the following therapeutic modalities is most effective to treat patients who are suicidal? Y'all gotta know this one, y'all. Y'all gotta know it.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a process of elimination. So DBT, that's for patients who have borderline personality disorder. We're gonna get rid of C.
Yeah.
And
I'm
Right.
stuck between B and D.
Y'all, if y'all don't know any other ones, y'all gotta know this one. I'm telling y'all.
It's
And then with psychoanalysis, that deals with the id, the super ego, and yes, id, super ego. I'm gonna say D.
Okay, anybody else got any guesses? Are they okay with that?
I would say D too.
Because the cognitive behavior deals with the thinking and the thought processing and the behavior. I'm going with D.
Yeah. I would go D just because you want to focus on their current thoughts, their present situation, and being present is the background, the main event for cognitive behavioral theory,
Okay.
therapy,
So you're
CBT.
looking for the most effective way to treat patients who are suicidal, and the answer, y'all, is actually A.
What?
Yes, and yeah, this one I knew this one. Because it's for people who are, you like you said, borderline personality disorder, as well as bipolar disorder, people who have difficulty with emotional regulation and are exhibiting self-destructive behaviors, i.e., borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder, all of that, those extremes. So anything with self-destruction, DBT is a little bit more intensive than cognitive, because of course DBT is an extension of cognitive behavior therapy, but it's more specific to people who are, in my opinion, more intense, especially the ones who are very impulsive. So whenever I think of DBT, I always think of people who are impulsive. So that means that, you know, they are at high risk for self-destruct, self-harm. They can't control their emotions, so they're always doing stuff that is totally off the wall. So y'all remember this one. Like, I should put like a whole bunch of stars by it. Remember DBT for suicide. Anything that's self-destructive or anything like that, you want to go with. I call it DBT is kind of like a step up, or like I said, an extension of CBT. So you're still doing CBT, but then you kind of take it a little bit further with people who are a little bit more serious. Does that make sense? Try to simplify it.
It does.
Okay, y'all remember that one. Mark, remember I said remember that. All right. So next, I'm gonna go ahead and take this one. Let me go ahead and just copy the answer first. I gotta slow down. All right. A school social worker receives a referral from a teacher or a student who has recently been more depressed and withdrawn. And this one was submitted to me by somebody as well. The teacher is particularly concerned about the student's recent emotional outbursts in the classroom. After speaking with the teacher, what should the social worker do next? Yes, somebody submitted this to me because it was a lot of confusion about this one. So yes. All right, so y'all, this is the next question. So let me see if there's a phase in here anywhere. A social worker, a school social worker, anytime it tells me a specific role, I pay attention to it, because that means whenever I go to pick my answer, it has to be within the realms of this specific role. It didn't just say a social worker. They specified it, so that means I'm gonna be doing something that a school social worker do. Keep that in mind. So it also tells me that I receive a referral. So that tells me I am in the beginning phase of the process. So I'm engaging and or assessing, which means I'm gathering information, trying to build, you know, a relationship with this client. From a teacher or a student who has recently been more depressed and withdrawn. All right. So we got this referral for a student who has been depressed and withdrawn. The teacher is particularly concerned about the student's recent emotional outbursts in the classroom. Okay, so this is what's going to be the priority issue, because it's telling us that the teacher is particularly concerned. He's already been depressed and withdrawn or whatever, but then he didn't had some emotional outbursts in the classroom, or he or she. So after speaking with the teacher, what should the social worker do next? So again, next means what's the last thing the social worker did, if anything, and in this case, the last thing she did was spoke with the teacher. So what is the next thing we're going to do? We done got this referral about this student, and you then who's concerned about this child who has recently, pay attention to the timeline, right? who has recently started exhibiting these behaviors. So after the social worker, you got the referral, and then you speak with the teacher, what's the next thing you're gonna do? Are you gonna meet with the student to assess the situation? Pause or scratch?
Pause.
Pause,
Are you gonna contact the parents about the teacher's concerns? Pause or scratch?
pause,
Scratch.
Are you gonna refer the student for psychological testing? Pause or scratch?
scratch,
Pause.
Okay. What about, are we gonna recommend the student for medication evaluation?
Scratch.
scratch,
All right, so we're gonna scratch this. All right, so remember, y'all, we are trying to address the fact that this teacher is particularly concerned about the student's recent emotional outbursts in the classroom, right? So we spoke with the teacher. So what's the next thing? What is the next thing we're gonna do to address the fact that, you know, the student is concerned about this? The teacher is concerned about the student recent emotional. I want y'all to think about that. This is a referral, so we're in the beginning phases. We're still trying to gather information. Y'all remember, we're still trying to engage and or assess. So that means, you know, we need to be finding which answer does that. So, yeah, where we at? Because I don't want to give y'all the answer. So let's go back to A. Meet with the student to assess the situation. That is something that we would do in the beginning because it says assess. So that means you would kind of meet with the student. So it's a referral. You didn't talk to the teacher. So now let me see what's going. The next thing I want to do is see what, you know, talk to the student and see what's really going on. That's assessing the situation. Or the next thing I can do is contact the parents and tell them, hey, got a referral here for your kid. He's been acting depressed and withdrawn, and the teacher say, you know, he didn't have some emotional outbursts. She's really concerned. Just wanted to share that with you. Or you can just up and say, "Go on, come on, student, come on out the class. Let me send you for some psych tests."
No,
I
I
say
think it'd
speak
be
with the student.
We definitely not gonna do C, y'all, because C just like you ain't even
No.
No.
right. So I put this
because
one.
you really don't know what the age of the child is. It doesn't say what the
It don't
age
say.
of the child is.
It don't say. That's why I put this one on here because I knew it was gonna be good. Doesn't
That's
say
true.
child.
Nope.
So what do? School social worker, because it got to be something you do within the realms of that role, something that a school social worker does.
Well, they
Yeah,
do
because
with students to assess
yeah.
the situation, but they also contact the parents about the teacher's concerns. So they do both. But I would say they meet with the student first to assess why the outbursts are happening and then contact the parents to let them know that this is the reason that it's happening. If the child is too young to be in the confidentiality realm of
Because I'm thinking you have to
confidentiality.
validate the child's feelings as well. So
Okay.
meeting with the child, that's the only way that you're going to be able to understand what he's feeling.
What's the
Yeah.
priority issue?
Teachers particularly concerned about the students' recent emotional outbursts in this classroom.
Yeah. Emotional outburst, depressed and withdrawn.
So
So let me
right.
tell y'all, I'm gonna go here for time's sake because I want us to be able to do a couple of more before we go. But this one is really good because this one kind of made me think as well. Like, okay, so when y'all have these and like y'all make good sense when you say, oh, it doesn't even give us an age or whatever. That kind of lets me know that when it doesn't get, like I tell y'all, if it doesn't specify, that means it's not relevant to, don't even try to make it relevant to the situation to where you're saying, oh, well, I don't know what age he is. So, you know, whatever, don't even worry about it if it's not on there. So being that this does not have an age, you only deal with your role
As a social worker.
You're a school social worker. And the problem is you receive a referral for a student. The concern is about the student. So after you speak with the teacher about her concerns, then the next thing you want to do is meet with the student to assess the situation. So yes, I think that was it. Was that Ms. Robin?
That
Who
was
did this?
me.
Yes, Very good, very good. But I knew that A and B would be confusing because there was no A.
Yeah.
Always, you know, and that's that question of, okay, when do you contact the parents? When do you not? I mean, if they wanted the age to be relevant, y'all, this is something that I have learned about the ASWB exam with reviewing all these old exams and stuff. Whatever they specify, that's what's relevant. If they don't specify an age, don't even try to make it relevant in your answer because it's not. So in this case, the parents are not relevant because the age isn't relevant. If it was, they would have told you. So in this case, let's focus on the role and the problem. And the problem is the student. And so you are not outside of your role being a school social worker and you get a referral for the student. Well, come on, student, let me call you in my office and assess the situation. And like you said, Ms. Robin, whatever goes on from there, we may need to contact the parents after that. But, you know, no harm, no foul with you calling the student in your office without the parents' permission because you're just assessing the situation. You're not working with the client or you haven't done anything like that. You're just assessing the situation because you're in the beginning phase of the process, and that's what we do, right? We assess, gather information. Y'all see, especially my new people, you see how knowing the phase of the process, how it relates to your answer. You're in the beginning, we engage or assess. So yes, you're gonna assess the situation. The rationale says after getting the information from the teacher, the social worker should gather more information from the student. If the meeting with the student warrants contacting the parents, then the social worker should do so. The other options are not even relevant. Any questions about that one? That's a really good question. My biggest takeaway is y'all don't try to make nothing in here relevant if the question don't specify, because the ASWB exam, they mean what they say, like what they be having on the page. That's it. All they want y'all to focus on. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this one too, which is the first question. Let me go on and grab it. Okay. A social worker meets with the client. Oh, there go one of my typos. Who states that she frequently has thoughts of overdosing to end her struggles with depression. Oh, y'all. The client states that she lives alone and has no social support system. The social worker should first consider. All right, so y'all already know we meet with this client. She has frequent thoughts of overdosing to end her struggles with depression. That is the most critical thing. She lives alone, has no support system. That's important to know. But the most important thing, the most critical thing that's happening in the here and now is that she's sitting up here telling me that she has frequent thoughts of overdosing so she can stop, you know, dealing with this depression. So what's the most important thing we need to consider in this situation? Is it an involuntary commitment into an inpatient facility? Pause or scratch.
Pause.
Is it a voluntary hospitalization? First thing we need to consider.
No.
Are we pausing or scratching?
I'm gonna say pause.
Okay. Yeah, I like the questions that make y'all think. That make y'all learn. When you think, you learn. All right. So what about C? Is the most important thing we need to do is refer the client. We need to consider referring the client to an outpatient mental health program. Frequently having thoughts of overdosing. Okay.
Scratch.
By the time she get there, she might not get there. D is the most important thing to consider about this client who has thoughts of overdosing or, you know, unaliving herself is obtaining the client's emergency contact information.
Scratch.
Okay, so
She
let me
said
point this
she
out,
has no
y'all.
support system.
And I was getting ready to say that. So, paying attention to that, consider the situation, focus on the problem. This would definitely just let you know out the gate that I don't even consider this. She has no support system, so obtaining her emergency contact information, yeah, don't make sense. So now the ASWB exam also likes to play these tricks, and I can tell y'all when y'all have two questions that are opposite of, two answers that are opposite of each other, 9.5 out of 10, your answer is one of those because that's how the ASWB exam does. I have noticed the pattern. If you have a question on that exam and they are two answers that are like total, like, you know, just direct opposites, one of them is gonna be your answer. You can eliminate the other two. Make sure you read them and eliminate them, but it's gonna be one of them. So now, the most important thing, y'all just think about it. You meet with a client, which means you kind of, you're in the beginning, you're assessing this client, and she's telling you, I always having these thoughts about overdosing, to end my struggles with depression frequently. Pay attention to time frames. Whenever it's there, y'all pay attention because it matters. So she frequently has these thoughts. What is the most important thing that you want to consider? Do you want to consider voluntary committing her to the inpatient facility or volunteer hospitalization? You are in the beginning phase, which means you are engaging and or assessing. When you are engaging a client, that means you are trying to build trust and rapport with the client. When you're assessing the client, you're trying to gather information. So in the beginning, we are doing both.
So we're gonna try to keep her
So
safe.
B, see if she'll go on her own first.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. I want to just be like, oh, I just met you. You having these thoughts? Call
I
the
think
people up. No, you want to give her the option first. So
right.
that she feel like she's being forced. Okay, so that's just in a nutshell. At least, kind of give her the self-determination first. But at the end of the day, if she be like, no, that ain't what I need, you continue to assess her.
Mhm.
Do what you need to do. Safety first.
And then I don't think with it helps build trust.
It does
No.
when you just automatically like, oh, call them up. Come on, people, come on, get them.
Yeah.
Having these thoughts, right? Any questions about that one? Let's do another one because we kind of started like 5 minutes behind, so I want to make sure we get some time. So let me go ahead and do another one. I know it's 7 o'clock. If anybody has to go out, you're gonna get it through email. All right, so let's do this one. One of y'all take this most question because I don't think we had a most question this session. So let's do this. Somebody take this.
Client who has been in a long-term treatment for schizophrenia was recently prescribed clozapam. The client complains that he has started experiencing random sucking or fish-like movements of his mouth. He states that he cannot control these movements. The client is most likely experiencing A, symptoms of, well, I guess I need to point out that schizophrenia, the medicine that's prescribed, the clozapam, having sucking or fish-like movements of the mouth and cannot control these movements. So the movements are involuntary. A, symptoms of withdrawal from substance use. I would say scratch.
Okay.
B, seizure-like symptoms of schizophrenia. Scratch. C, tardive dyskinesia. I would say pause.
Mhm.
And D, symptoms of intoxication from substance use. There's no mention of substance use, so I would say scratch.
Mm-hmm. So this is just a basic recall question, making sure that y'all know what this is. All right. All right. Let's do another. Let's do another. All right.
A social worker is asked to lead an initiative to help prevent child abuse in her state. The social worker affects. Hold on a minute. The social worker effect effort should focus on.
Okay. So what's going on before you even go to the answers? Tell me what you thinking about. Like what are you trying to address here?
The initiative to help prevent child abuse in her state.
Mm-hmm. So that's what you focus on. So your efforts should have something to do with this.
Right.
So now take us through the answer choices.
Okay. A, opposing heavier jail sentence for child abusers.
Oh, it's a scratch.
I'm going to pause it. B, developing counseling programs for abusive parents. I'm going to pause. C, providing anger management groups for abusive parents. I'll say pause.
Girl.
D, advocating for children, for child protective rights. Most definitely pausing.
So they all making sense.
Mm-hmm.
So now this is mainly an ethics question.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily, it's just asking you your efforts should focus on. Oh yeah, let's talk about it. The main issue here, y'all, is you're being asked to lead an initiative to help prevent child abuse. That's the main thing in your state, whatever. But you're trying to, get something going to help prevent child abuse. So what's gonna be your main focus? Imposing heavier jail sentences? Is that going to be your main focus for trying to prevent child abuse? Because
Yeah.
that happens after the child has been abused. So we're trying to prevent. Y'all keep that in mind. We're trying to prevent child abuse.
Right.
So now, granted, this could prevent people from doing it when they know that they got heavier jail sentences. But yeah, we're not there. So developing counseling programs for abusive families. Is that going to prevent child abuse?
Scratch.
What about C, providing anger management groups for abusive parents?
Scratch.
What about D,
Scratch.
advocating for child protection rights?
Pause.
I mean, that's the only one we got left. Do y'all think that's the answer, or do y'all want to go back and visit another one?
That's the one.
I think it's the answer. Advocating, I kind of said is asked to lead.
An initiative, leading an initiative, that's advocating.
Yeah.
So that's
Right.
yeah, that's pretty much along the lines of advocating. So yes, pay attention. I know that like when you read through them, they all sounded good, but you have to be able to get to that. What is the priority issue? That's why I kind of stress what's the real deal. Like simplify it. I mean, down as much as you need to get to what is the main thing. What is this main thing about? And all this is saying is, look, what's gonna help prevent child abuse?
Right.
All of this other stuff is pretty much after the child had already been abused. Okay. Anybody got any questions, comments, concerns, confusion? No?